interesting that it's called, I mean, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
But
there is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
That's correct. I think that's not actually, you're right, the name raises questions, and certainly there's been some much covered internal politics on that show, but I do think that, you know, there is space. Even that show does have space. When Whoopi said what she said, there was quick pushback from other panelists. They were like, oh, I don't know. Actually, I think that might not be right. That's it.
Yeah, I got bad news for you. They don't have a monopoly on stupid. You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended. And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers' union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a...
Bill Maher usually does not spend much time taking direct shots at Sunny Hostin, but when The View starts drifting into talking points that push everyday Americans even further away, somebody has to call it out, and this time Bill Maher did exactly that. What followed was a tense clash over woke politics media group Think Donald Trump voters and the growing divide inside the left itself. So what exactly did Bill Maher say that left Sunny Hostin and The View looking visibly rattled? Hit subscribe and get straight into it.
But it struck me that in the first segment you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected. Yeah. So the term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term, because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words migrate.
Why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice, who's not for that? But words do migrate. Now, I'll use any term you want. Okay. Because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that.
From the jump, Sunny Hostin walked into that conversation thinking she had Bill Maher boxed and leaning on him about why a lifelong liberal was suddenly recycling a buzzword the right wing loves to throw around to her. It looked like a slam dunk, the kind of trap you set up and walk away clean from, except Bill Maher saw it coming a mile away and flipped the entire moment on its head. He calmly broke it down, explaining that the word may have started inside the black community as a real call to stay alert against injustice, but it did not stay there. In his view, it was taken, reshaped, and stretched onto every fringe idea and out-of-touch policy imaginable, the kind that pushes everyday Americans away, and you could literally feel the shift in the room as the energy dropped. Sunny Hostin changed her expression, and for a moment she had no clear response ready. Just when it seemed like things might settle, Bill Maher added another point even sharper than the first, and suddenly the entire panel looked far less comfortable.
But don't tell me the left had...
Maybe the super far right.
Well, he's talking about the left. Well, then
okay, but we talked about that. I mean, I think we agree about the danger of the super far right, and I can't say it enough. I think they're the bigger threat. But don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a joke. But,
too dark.
Well, maybe it is, but it's true. I mean, if I had any doubt that I was right about the change that's happened in the left, watching people protest for a terrorist organization like...
From there, Bill Maher takes the conversation a step deeper, walking through how much the modern left has changed over the last 10 years, no longer the loose big tent it once was, but in his view something tighter, more rigid, and drifting further away from where ordinary people actually live. The whole time Sunny Hostin keeps pushing him, almost trying to steer him toward criticizing Republicans instead, but Bill Maher refuses to take that route. He is not chasing easy applause or playing to the crowd. He stays focused on the fractures inside his own side, and that is the moment the tension in the room rises. You can feel the discomfort building, because this is not a direction Sunny Hostin expected. The criticism starts landing too close to her own position, considering her entire on-air presence has been built around defending the same progressive talking points Bill Maher is now breaking down, and those moments are shared across social media constantly, so when he challenges it directly face to face, the tone shifts from a controlled discussion into something far more uneasy and exposed.
One must tell the usual suspects on the far left that the saying is, when you're in a hole, stop digging. not keep digging. Talk about doubling down on what got you f***ed in the first place. Even the one concession I've heard a few people on the losing side offer, that liberals should stop saying the Trump voters are stupid, comes with a kind of unspoken parentheses. We know they are stupid, just don't say it.
That is where it really starts getting intense right out of the gate in this segment. Bill Maher subtly frames Sunny Hostin and her co-hosts as figures who have drifted deep into the far left lane, essentially labeling them without even needing to say the word. The point lands clean without any extra emphasis, and this moment is not random either. The View has spent countless episodes taking shots at people who voted for Donald Trump, often dismissing them as uninformed, out of touch, or worse. But Bill Maher completely rejects that narrative from his perspective. Those voters are not ignorant at all. Most of them simply looked at the cultural messaging and policy demands coming from the other side and decided it did not represent them. That is the line he draws, and he draws it with complete clarity. In a single moment, the conversation shifts from a light exchange into something far more serious, turning into a deeper discussion about why American voters make the choices they do.
Yeah, I got bad news for you. They don't have a monopoly on stupid. You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended. And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a...
From there, Bill Maher tightens the focus and starts calling out specific on-air positions Sunny Hostin has backed on her own show, and that is when the tension really starts to rise. One of the key issues he highlights is The View pushing strict masking long after the peak of COVID had passed, even as debate grew over how effective those measures still were. Sunny Hostin, along with Whoopi Goldberg, continued to reinforce the message to keep wearing it and treat it as the responsible choice there is. Even a well-known on-air moment where Whoopi Goldberg directly challenged Bill Maher for questioning the ongoing mask expectations, and it turned into a heated exchange live on television. Bill Maher brings that moment back up to underline a broader argument that large parts of the media shut down opposing views entirely. What unfolds is not just a disagreement between individuals, but a clash between two completely different worldviews, both pushing forward without backing down.
About Whoopi Goldberg, because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So she was, everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide. But can I just say this? I had on last week Ira Glasser, former longtime head of the ACLU, talking about free speech. Whoopi Goldberg, who, by the way, I hope is still a friend, we can disagree with each other, should not be canceled or put off her show, as much as I totally disagree with her crazy statement.
In this stretch, Bill Maher openly acknowledges that Whoopi Goldberg has taken plenty of shots at him over the years, often delivering takes he sees as disconnected from reality, including her pushback during the masking debate. But he does not stop there. He reminds the audience that Whoopi Goldberg herself crossed a serious line before, most notably with the on-air comments that led to her being taken off her own show after the backlash surrounding her Holocaust remarks. And here is where it hits harder. Despite all the tension between them, Bill Maher actually defended her at the time, arguing that removing her from the air was excessive and went against the very idea of free speech that is supposed to be protected. That becomes the defining point of this moment. Even when he strongly disagrees, he refuses to support canceling people, and it leaves a powerful question hanging. If the roles were reversed and Bill Maher was the one under fire, would Whoopi Goldberg or Sunny Hostin offer him that same level of defense, or would they stand back and watch him fall?
Isn't it interesting that it's called, I mean, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
But
there is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
That's correct. I think that's not actually, you're right, the name raises questions, and certainly there's been some much covered internal politics on that show, but I do think that, you know, there is space. Even that show does have space. When Whoopi said what she said, there was quick pushback from other panelists. They were like, oh, I don't know. Actually, I think that might not be right.
Honestly, it makes you question whether Sunny Hostin even sits down and watches her own program, because if she did, she would have to recognize a pattern that is becoming nearly impossible to ignore. The View presents itself as a round table of competing perspectives, but in reality, most of the voices at that table operate within the same political space. The one person who occasionally steps outside that alignment is Alyssa Farah Griffin, who sometimes introduces a different angle into the discussion, but even then her presence can feel more symbolic than influential. The rest of the panel may deliver their points with different tones or levels of intensity, but the core message often circles back to the same place, which makes the exchange feel less like a true debate and more like a unified chorus. That is why Alyssa Farah Griffin can come across as a checkbox role similar to Scott Jennings on CNN, positioned to represent an opposing view yet rarely shifting the direction of the broader conversation, and that leads to a bigger question about how much genuine balance these platforms are actually giving to viewers watching from home.
It wasn't 21st century sexism that prevented a woman from being president. It was the Electoral College. Democrats run for office as if the voters don't live here, as if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office. But they do. They live here, and they actually see women and people of color. And it doesn't look like some patriarchal, racist nightmare. Do problems remain pertaining to racism and sexism? Of course. But a poll last year asked, if America is the greatest country in the world, more blacks and Hispanic Americans agreed with that than the white progressives. It asked if racism is built into our society. White progressives agreed with that at higher levels than black and Hispanic people. It asked if government should increase border security. Same result. Hispanic Americans are less okay with illegal immigration than white.
Even after Bill Maher laid out chart after chart of polling data, the panel on The View still comes across as operating through an identity-first lens on almost every issue. The impression they give is that no topic in America can be addressed until it is filtered through race, ethnicity, and group identity. Within that framework, outcomes take priority over process, and any gap is treated as automatic proof that the system itself is broken. From the perspective of Bill Maher, that approach compresses complex issues and reduces individuals to categories instead of recognizing them as people with distinct experiences. It also reinforces the belief that certain groups should receive added advantage in areas like hiring, and once questions of skill or qualification enter the discussion, that is where the debate intensifies. Critics argue that this mindset risks creating new barriers while claiming to remove old ones, while supporters maintain it is a necessary way to address long-standing inequality. Either way, it reflects a deeper clash of values with no clear sign of either side stepping back.
The votes are in. They don't want your pity. And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them. Black people, they're just like us.
And that really is the core of the disagreement for voices like Bill Maher. The path forward is not about shaping every policy to satisfy a specific group. It is about building a foundation that lifts the entire country regardless of background or identity. The reasoning is simple: when the fundamentals are strong and opportunities are open, more people move forward together. What most Americans look for in their daily lives is not constant cultural conflict, but stability, reliable income, a functioning economy, safer communities, a support system that actually works, and the freedom to live without constant interference. These are the basics that gradually improve life across every community, because when the economy weakens or crime rises, the impact does not stay isolated. It spreads, affecting households, businesses, and everyday peace of mind, which is why the argument remains focused on strengthening policies that benefit everyone rather than narrowly targeted approaches that may end up deepening the very divides they aim to fix.
Kamala spent 100 days telling voters, I know it feels like crime and illegal immigration are bad, but your feelings. Look at this chart. Yes, there's a lot to not like already about the new regime, but maybe take 1 week to ask what you did wrong. The basis for Democratic campaigns has become, we're the smart people. That we know from the get-go. No need to look into that. We know that a priori, which is a Latin phrase the Red Hat people wouldn't have a clue about. But they don't need to. Have you seen my "In This House We Believe" lawn sign? See, it says right on it, we believe in science. Right, which is why you demanded no one even debate whether COVID could have escaped from the one lab in the one city where they were studying it. How far-fetched.
When you zoom out, Bill Maher ongoing clash with Sonny Hostin and the rest of the table on The View starts to reveal a much deeper divide within the American left, one that stretches far beyond a single television exchange. At its core, it reflects a pull between two competing visions of progressive politics, one centered around identity and cultural signaling and another focused on broader policies designed to lift everyone at the same time. The reason Bill Maher strikes such a nerve is because he is willing to challenge his own side rather than simply going after opponents for easy reactions, whether people agree with him or not. The tension he creates in moments like this highlights the difference between speaking to a supportive audience and actually persuading those outside it. The real takeaway is not about who wins the argument, but whether platforms that present themselves as progressive are open to being challenged, because without that, they risk becoming the same kind of echo chambers they claim to reject. So in the end, this clash between Bill Maher and Sonny Hostin on The View was never just about a single debate. It pointed to a broader shift in how the left is viewed and why more voters appear to be pushing back. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts, and stay tuned for the next one.